What I'm going to be talking about today is exploring human behavior and self-awareness at a very surface level, actually. Very, very down to earth and very simple way of looking at these things. The two things that I want to bring importance to and awareness to is inner peace. And when I say inner peace, I'm talking about the individual's relationship with themselves, your own individual sense of inner peace, and also what your individual definition of peace is. And we'll also look at it from a perspective of, do you even have to be spiritual or religious to find peace or inner peace? And with that, I want to cultivate the understanding a little bit of inner peace as being a relative term, really. What is inner peace to you, or the definition of peace to you, might not feel or seem like peace to someone else. And because we all have our own behaviors, we are all individually human. So if you've ever experienced inner peace, or your own personal experience of inner peace, I want to bring that in. I want you to think about that as we go through this, and know that experiences can be cultivated. And you can objectively be aware of that. So something else that'll be a salient point that will continue is objective awareness. And I'm not talking about self-awareness that I see people think that they have, because self-awareness may not actually be a healthy awareness, depending on the self that is being aware. So bear with me. There are different forms of awareness. And if your awareness is clouded by your ego, or you are in a victim mentality, you're wrapped up in a poor me drama, and you have other people around you doing the same, your poor me and your ego-driven awareness will create division. And what I mean by this is your awareness will be dependent on what you define as good or bad. You will create division. You will see things out in the world and say that that's bad, or that's not what you like, or that's not you, and you create division, and you lose the overall awareness of the fact that just because you call something bad, or it's not doesn't fit with your theme of your personality, you create division. You create an us and them scenario. And so when you are objectively observing and being aware of not only your own behavior, but other humans' behavior, you will see it in a negative way if it does not align with who you are and what you believe, your beliefs. So this awareness, when you cultivate it, when you can objectively be aware of your actions, your behaviors, your other people in your life's actions and behaviors, you start to see how much the world is already connected. We don't just go to other cultures in other countries and experience different human behaviors. Here in America, we experience different people of different cultures on a daily basis. And there is awareness there, and there is understanding there. America as a culture is fading, becoming very fluid. And that is people connecting. They're connecting with their self. They're connecting with other people. When you have this inner peace and you have this objective awareness, the mind-body connection becomes clearer. Your ego is not confusing your mind. You are not reacting viscerally to the behavior of others. Your emotions are not running the show. Your body is not having to go through the emotional reaction of the triggers and the trauma, and you become clearer in your mind, and you can pay better attention to your body. The self-care, the self-help, people are taking the reins back from doctors and medicines and things, and they're starting to do this themselves. And it's causing just an outflow of understanding and awareness. I don't think people congratulate themselves enough on this, because there's always something better out there that you can buy or do or practice that's supposed to get you to where you need to be. But I think once people realize how far they are in their journey, whether it's a spiritual journey, whether you're doing the inner work, that you're cultivating that and it is going out. It has become so common, nobody congratulates themselves for it anymore. They just want to talk about the next thing they're going to learn or the next thing they're going to do. The faith that you have in yourself becomes faded and clouded. And that faith, that higher being, that thing that people will call God or whatever, that higher power, we're going to talk about what that really means and bring that into the conversation as part of your awareness. That higher power, that faith is really an individual perspective, and you can cultivate that. And you do that by going within and finding your inner peace, not to disconnect from the rest of the world because of their behavior or because of your behavior. You learn that in that individuality that you are all connected. You get that unity back. You start to understand and you start to respond to the behavior around you and the things that you become aware of instead of reacting. Your emotional state calms down and your body becomes more in tune. You can listen to it and it can tell you how to actually keep yourself healthy when you learn to listen to it. Next, let's talk about what guides most human behavior, and that is higher power and faith. And let's define this higher power and faith. Let's talk about what constitutes a higher power. We'll look at it at a personal and universal view, and the role that faith plays in human survival, not just human behavior, but human survival, and how faith connects to manifesting personal growth, how that all ties together. So let's define this higher power. So what is a higher power? Is it God? Is your individual description or image of God? And is it one that you share with other people? And do you actually need for the other people around you to share this version of God, this image with the good and the bad and all the rules that go along with believing in this God? Is that how you judge behavior as good or bad? And do you need this sense of shared belief systems because you need to make sure that everyone involved is being policed by something higher than him or you or her, something that brings that moral compass into play? So if the higher power to you is not God, what if it's the universe? If this is the universe that is your higher power, structuring your belief system, and what you subscribe to, what do you need this higher power for? Why is this necessary? Why is it necessary to believe in a higher power? In religion, this higher power, God gives you grace. If you believe and have faith, you will receive grace. And if you are more inclined to the spiritual aspect of things and you have your own spiritual beliefs, this surrender here to the universe or this higher power, you do it for guidance. So in religion, you're looking for grace, and in spirituality, you're looking for guidance. But what good is grace without guidance? And what good is guidance without grace? So let's think about it a little more. What good is the dogma of religion if there is no way to break free from it? And what good is the complete freedom of spirituality if there is no moral compass? So let's go a little further and talk about faith. So what is faith? Faith is really trust. It's just pure, complete trust. So what do you put your trust in? Do you trust God? Do you trust the universe? Do you trust yourself? And do you trust others? So let's break it on down and talk about the relationships that you have, not just with God or the universe, but about yourself and others. Do you trust yourself? Do you trust others? So to have faith in something is to trust in it. And if you trust and put your faith in something, you expect a positive outcome. What happens when the outcome is not positive? You stop trusting yourself, you stop trusting God, the universe, or other people. So what do we see as bad or good? We have claimed it as bad or good, but there's also that term that you hear used quite often, rejection is just redirection. So if you're always seeing something as bad, there is something that you do not trust. This is basic realization of objectively viewing human behavior. So there is a lecture series. It's on YouTube. Stanford University has it out there. It was put out 14 years ago, and it's human behavior biology. So it's all the lectures in that class. And the professor is Robert Sapolsky. I hope I'm saying that right. In this behavior biology and the evolution of how behavior evolves, it breaks it down to the biology, the organism level, the animal instinct behavior level. So in the animal kingdom, you have tournament species and you have pair bonding species. And these two types of species develop different behavior patterns depending on their environment. And if you watch enough of the lectures, you'll see that the point to all of it is really that genetics has very little, if almost nothing, to do with human behavior. The whole nature versus nurture becomes something that you see play out in day-to-day behavior. We change our behavior depending on our environment, whether we feel safe, whether we trust the environment or the people in it. So one of the things that he goes into is the game dynamics that humans play. We are in the constant flow state of being a tournament species or being a pair bonding species. We go between the two, just like we are carnivores and herbivores. We take both sides of this as human consciousness. We have it all. We have all of these behaviors, and we have the environment in which we are behaving. This goes back to our survival. We are hardwired to survive, and we survive by finding out who we can trust, who we're related to, and what that means in the survival of the species. So, to bring it back to a personal level, when it comes to trust, I personally trust myself over anyone else. I trust my intuition and I trust my common sense. And the way I survive with this is not that I do not trust others or that I do not put my faith in others. Or it's not that I don't put my faith in my beliefs, what I consider to be God and my higher power. What I do personally is when someone is dishonest, when I encounter dishonesty, I disengage from that person or that relationship. Now, some people, most people, do not see that as a hard and fast boundary like I do. And I understand why. There, again, in the biology of human behavior, humans tend to interact and play the game of life in a little tit-for-tat manner. As long as you don't stab me in the back, I'm not going to stab you in the back. And as long as you stab me in the back and you allow me to stab you back, then we're even. You get this sense of we're even and everything is okay. The reason I have developed this is because not just the animalistic human behavior, there is also karma out there. So you are either giving off karma or receiving karma. And the dishonesty to me is bad karma. I do not have to take that on. The person being dishonest has to take that on. And that is my way of protecting my energy and my inner peace, which we're going to talk about inner peace more later. But this I do for myself. I do it for my nervous system. So when we talk about human behavior and we talk about our higher power and how we go through life and how we identify, if we are constantly engaging in interactions that upset our nervous system, right? We react instead of responding. So if you have the triggers, if you have the emotional baggage, if you have the trauma, if you have those things happening within you while you are interacting, the human behavior of other people is lost on you because all you can do is react. You can't respond. You're not really seeing the conversation or the environment for what it is. That is your nervous system and your ego running on subconscious programs to keep you safe in your environment, because you will behave more like yourself when you feel safe. So this is also about finding who you are and being comfortable being your true, authentic self. Listen to your nervous system. Know that when you are reacting instead of responding, that there is something in that environment that has made you feel unsafe, and you may not be conscious of it. It may be time to question things and look with an objective awareness, to look at just the behavior of the people around you, how you are responding to it, and do a little introspection. That's really all it takes. People set boundaries but don't enforce them. People announce their triggers, and in doing that, they put their reaction on the other person. They're saying, I've told you all my triggers, so if you say something, my emotional reaction is now you're now responsible for my reaction to your words. If I deem what your words say to me is a trigger, you can trigger people without meaning to. Offense is the same way. Offense is never given, it's only taken. So if you're very easily offended, you are probably very easily triggered. So the awareness to that is the first and best step. You realize that these things are tied into your belief systems. They're tied into what you have faith in and what you trust. All of the manifesting techniques out there at the core are based in faith and trust. You believe you can do it. You can believe it's out there for you. It can be used as well for personal growth. Maybe you're not trying to gain material things right now. Maybe you're not trying to manifest a new life because you're not in touch with yourself. Maybe you don't really know what you want, but you know you want that new car. And this is a way to get it. But you can also use this for personal growth as well, to manifest, if you will, that better version, that newer version, that new identity that doesn't allow the pushing of the boundaries. Your boundaries aren't a line in the sand, they are discussion points. You start to clear your energy, you start to clear how you see things, how you observe and react to not just your human behavior, but the others around you. You start to clear this out a little bit. You start to understand that human behavior and self-awareness can get you through a lot of personal growth, a lot of relationship issues that usually just need a conversation. And you can do it with ease because you're trusting yourself. You're having faith in yourself. You know that there's a higher power. You know that there's grace and guidance out there. But when your head is clear and you have inner peace, you trust yourself more to do that for yourself. Next, we're going to talk about spirituality and self-awareness. And for the purposes of this, when I speak about the spirit or spirituality, I am only referring to the inner spirit that each of us have individually. So your spirit, that part of you that is actually here, not cosmic, not dimensional, but the spirit that you have within your human body. Some people refer to it as the causal body, but for the purposes of this, we're keeping it to just the inner spirit. So spirituality and self-awareness. So in spirituality, you can find cultism, and in religion, you can find dogma. And there's the concept of inner spirit and higher self. I want to look at these things, have you look at them without division, see the inner spirit and the higher self as maybe one and the same. And we're also going to talk about integrating the ego and moving beyond ego-driven behavior. So one of the things that we talk about and that we see is religious dogma. Most people are very turned off by the dogma of religion, therefore they don't practice religion and they stay away from it. In the realm of spirituality, if you consider yourself spiritual instead of religious, then instead of dogma, you can fall into and start to see cultism that will pop up, especially in spiritual communities and certain practices. If you follow a guru or a teacher or anything like that, they will have practices, and it will feel at some point kind of like an indoctrination. And to some people that feels comfortable. It's not constraining like religious dogma. It's actually very freeing. So the concept, the inner spirit, the higher self. When we talk about our higher self in spirituality communities, spiritual teachings, or whatever, that inner spirit, that higher self becomes, in a way, that higher power. So the dangers of ego-driven spirituality, and I did another video on this, but just a little overview here. Ego-driven spirituality comes around when the ego takes the lead in your spiritual journey. It turns what should be a path of growth into a pursuit of self-importance, validation, and in some cases even influence. And you might see this in the form of spiritual bypassing, using spirituality to avoid dealing with deeper unhealed wounds. It can also appear as kind of a spiritual ego where someone uses spiritual language or practices to elevate themselves above others. I see this sometimes when people proclaim their spiritual awakening. They give you the time and place of when they had their awakening or they have received some sort of spiritual enlightenment. That creates a division in the relationship dynamics with other people and with yourself. When we let our ego drive our spiritual journey, we risk creating a new set of beliefs that are more about the ego's desires than about true self-awareness. This can lead to a kind of spiritual materialism where the focus shifts from inner growth to outward appearances, followers, or monetization. If you are trying to be a influencer or a creator, or you have spiritual gifts or abilities that you want to share and monetize. So the self-awareness is key here, and we want to really hone in on objective self-awareness because we can easily become blind to how the ego influences our spiritual path. We use it as maybe a form of spiritual bypassing, and we become blind to this. So it's crucial to check in with ourselves, question our motives, and ensure that our spiritual practices are genuinely fostering that growth and compassion. That's where we can start to see where this inner spirit, this higher self, has become what we trust and what we have faith in. So let's go back to karma. So we mentioned karma earlier. Self-reflection at this point is crucial, objective and honest self-reflection. So some tips here. We want to grow, we want to understand our behavior and others, and we want to be self-aware. So regular reflections are great. Take some time to reflect on your intentions and motivations. See where your actions are truly coming from. Another thing to do is seek honest feedback. You need to surround yourself with people who will give you honest, constructive feedback. And also remember that you take on the personality or behavior traits of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. They will influence you. You will influence them. So pick your circle wisely. Another thing is to stay humble. And remember that true spirituality is about growth, not superiority. It's not you against them. It's not you know the right way, other people do not. There is no division there. There is no wrong way to worship. There's no wrong way to pray. And there is no wrong way to meditate. Everybody can become empowered with their own practices. They can create the things that give them and their individual spirit that inner peace and that awareness that they're looking for. Another thing is continuous learning. Stay open to new perspectives and always be willing to evolve. A lot of what you will go through, a lot of what you will start to observe is a new perspective. You will see yourself, if you ask for feedback, you will see yourself through someone else's eyes. You will learn compassion. You will be able to put yourself in other people's shoes and understand their behavior in a new way. You don't have to agree with it and you don't have to accept it, but you can understand it and detach from it without having any sort of emotional attachment to it. This is healthy detachment, not cutting off relationships or people. You see the detachment as a way for you to grow and that you have not harmed the other person. You have taken their behavior for what it is. You've adjusted yourself accordingly. You've decided what serves you, what doesn't. And it comes from a place of true internal self-awareness, not about an image and not about the ego. Next, let's dive into recovery and inner work. So when I talk about recovery, I'm talking about recovering from some sort of an addiction. And we're going to examine the role of surrendering when we're going through recovery. We'll use AA as a good example. And then let's look at if spirituality is even necessary to recover from addiction. So let's look at it objectively. Let's AA. So you can go online and you can look up the 12 steps of AA and how they go and what you go through. Very good 12-step program. The very first thing you have to do is surrender to a higher power. So what is this higher power that you as an individual see? So can you surrender to a higher power without believing in that higher power? If you're going to surrender to the God of religion, can you surrender without fully believing in that religion? This higher power should also give you guidance if you're more on a spiritual path and you don't want to surrender to a God of religion. You want to surrender to the universe, the cosmic flow of the universe. Can you follow the guidance that you are being given without faith? And another thing when it comes to recovery, are you surrendering or are you giving up or are you being forced to be in the recovery program? Are you not there of your own free will? Did you do something to make you be there, right? So recovery programs are designed to keep you from giving up, to beat the addiction. And so people who don't really have a sense of their higher purpose or their higher power, I should say, or they don't believe in anything or they don't have faith in anything, what they will do during that recovery and in that environment is they will create what they need to get through the program. And an example of this is somebody who does great while they are in rehab. As soon as they get out of rehab and are left to their own devices, they fall back into the addiction. They can only keep that space. They can only keep that mindset when they are in the environment with the other people and when everybody around them is doing the same thing they are doing. So let's talk about inner work. So when you are in a recovery program, and the reason I want to use AA is because AA forces you to do a lot of inner work. I know there's plenty of other recovery programs out there that may not do that, but AA does that. And so in those 12 steps, you're actually doing some inner work. You are putting yourself into a healing journey. And I suggest, as many of you as would like, to look up the 12 steps of AA and really think about them and look at them and see if you could actually do those 12 steps. There's probably not many people that actually could complete those 12 steps. And when you look at that and you're on a healing journey, not because of recovery, but because you want to heal yourself, once you look at that and think about it, you are going to realize that you are addicted to a lot of things. You are addicted to negative thoughts, negative self-talk, right? How you speak to yourself, toxic relationships, cycles that keep repeating. And you can also be addicted to a level of anxiety. Um, the anxiety can become part of your personality. It can be part of what you think people expect from you. So you have heightened anxiety because you want to share the emotions with the highly anxious people around you. If you're an empath, you learn to not do this at a very early age and how to protect yourself. But if you are not, then you can become a little clouded in your inner work. So surrendering, you can call it surrendering, but in inner work, surrendering can actually become a way of spiritual bypassing. You say you're going to give it to the universe, right? You're constantly having the same relationship problems, but you're going to surrender those problems to the universe. And the universe is constantly giving you these bad relationships to show you that you are not doing the right thing for you. You are subconsciously drawing the bad relationships back in. You are subconsciously repeating the cycles. Um, it's I think Carl Jung said it. If a person does not do their inner work, do their shadow work, their subconscious will dictate their lives, and they will just call it fate. They will just surrender to fate. So let's think about this. When you surrender, what do you surrender to, and why are you surrendering? Now, this comes into contrast with the need to be in control. Some people have to be in control, and surrendering is a good practice for them to let go of that control, that need to control everything. Because once you control everything, if you want to take control, then you need to also take responsibility and accountability. If you want to control everything in your life, then you need to become responsible and accountable for that. Once you look at it that way, you may find that maybe you don't need to control everything because you are not responsible for everything, and you don't want to be held accountable for what other people do. So, why do people leave a recovery facility and being left to their own devices fall right back into the addiction? And is spirituality even necessary to recover from addiction? It depends on the person, I think. If you can objectively see your behavior and you can be self-aware and you really truly want to heal yourself and you want to become whole, you will do anything to stop that. Once you identify your addiction as harmful, once you identify exactly what that addiction is taking away from you, and you want yourself whole again, you won't give that away to anybody. So, recovery, inner work, surrendering, spirituality, these things are all an individual experience. We all experience them differently and we all walk a different path to get to them. Structures like AA and inner work with spiritual communities who foster growth and understanding. This is where those can happen, and you don't have to subscribe to any particular religion or spiritual beliefs or views or practices. This can be done at a very internal level. It can be done on as an individual. You can do it with a group of friends. You can have accountability buddies that you ask for help with your behaviors. When you identify your behaviors and you don't like them, you want to change them, you have to go within and find out where the behavior came from in the first place, where the addiction came from. Why do you need this thing? What is it taking the place of? And these things can be done just letting other people reflect to you. Let people that you trust. There's a lot of exceptions that are made with dishonesty and its implications of, are you just uh, being a good person, showing good manners? You can still be respectful to other people, and you should expect respect from them, but you do not have to agree. You do not have to be on the same page. You can let go of those toxic relationships. You can let go of the people who drain your energy, who do not help you heal, who do not help you grow. You can get rid of those people who do not want to grow with you. You hear a lot of people say you just have to leave people where they're at. You can only meet them where they are mentally, and sometimes you have to leave them where they are mentally. You do this for yourself. You detach with love. Next, I want to talk about our mind-body connection and energy. And I want to talk about these two things with no religious dogma and no spiritual cultism. Let's look at these things just for what they are. So, your body holds memory. You have muscle memory. Athletes are well aware of this. They practice it. That's how they performed. Trauma survivors are well aware of this. They know what parts of their bodies the trauma got stuck in. They actually experience this, and hopefully all of them have found ways to release those things, those negative energies, those imprints. So let's talk about imprints and how energy gets imprinted onto us. I'm not talking about genetics. I'm talking about the individual organism, which is the human that is you, and the environmental imprint you received as a child as you were growing up. These masculine and feminine imprints, some were toxic, some were healthy. Some people received toxic feminine energy from a male caregiver. These things can be rearranged and replaced in all ways. Everyone's imprint, everyone's environment, and everyone's experience is individual to them. So individuals can look at the imprints that they received as a child. And as a child, another imprint was put onto you. It was your belief imprint. Whatever religion you were taught by the people around you, or whatever examples you were shown by the people around you, that shaped your beliefs, not just your religion, but the examples that you were shown. You were given good examples and bad examples as a child. good from bad was dictated by your environment and the people around you. This is another thing that objective self-awareness helps with. You can see your past, you can see your imprints, you can see how you got them objectively. You can look at your childhood, you can look at how these imprints were established, and you can decide if you want to keep them or change them. That is the beauty of being an adult. And it's also the great thing about impermanence. Thanks to impermanence, nothing stays the same. You can change yourself at any time. So the self-imprint, that's you. That's how you see yourself. That's very important. And you should never lose sight of how you see yourself. So when we talk about a mind-body connection, so the body feels the trigger. When you are emotionally triggered, your body feels it. Your body feels nervous in unfamiliar places. If going into unfamiliar places has caused you harm in the past, your body will automatically get nervous in unfamiliar situations. So, and your body will eventually have the trigger, that emotional trigger. That emotional trigger is anxiety buildup. Think about it this way. When there is a point in a conversation where you see the backhanded compliment, the passive aggressiveness, or the genuine compliment that did not get delivered with a genuine tone. You see these things and they start to build up. You have disconnected, let's call it, with your body to where anxiety feels normal to the body. The body thinks something is wrong if it is not anxious about something. We can go back to what we talked about just a few minutes ago about addiction. You may be addicted to being anxious. You may not feel like you're part of what's going on unless you have some sort of anxiety going on. Everybody is different, and it can show up in different ways, but at its core, it is a nervous system response. A trigger is a nervous system response. It is an anxiety response. So how do you cultivate this mind-body connection if your body is reacting? It's in a constant state of reacting from all this buildup. So let's go back to energy. Let's talk about releasing the negative energy in the body. Letting go. Surrendering. Let's call it surrendering, not to a higher power, but just releasing this negative energy and clearing this energy. Now, how does an average individual go about releasing this negative energy? Well, all is mind and mind is body. When you start to be at home in your body, you really start to practice the self-care and the wellness that you need individually. It's not out there. You're not going outside of yourself to find it. When you start doing that internally, you do the inner work, you are working on your inner peace. You cannot clearly have inner peace with all of the negative energy. Now, what keeps negative energy trapped in the body? Your brain does. It's your emotions. It's how you talk to yourself. It's how you feel about yourself. It's how you view the outside world. It's how you view the behavior of others. You see a division. You are projecting your ego out onto the world. If there is anxiety within you, you see it outside. If you are afraid, you assume other people are afraid. If people do not share your fear, if people do not share your sense of right and wrong, you automatically fear them. You automatically see division. And that trust, that faith in yourself and in other people goes away. So your body will tell you these things. If you can listen to it, if the body is constantly reacting emotionally to triggers, you do not have a clear connection. You're not communicating in the right way. You're communicating backwards. So let's talk about inner peace. Let's talk about meditation. Let's talk about yoga, breath work, journaling. All these things cultivate this sense of inner peace. But what is inner peace but inner knowing? You get to know yourself. You have your inner knowing. You have your intuition. You have your discernment, and you cultivate that relationship with yourself. So what you will start to see is this clearing of energy is really just a clearing of your mind. Now, what you will notice is different than what you're going to expect to notice. So what you're going to notice is as you cultivate this inner peace, you become very protective of it. You don't want anything or anybody disturbing this inner peace. You will consciously do this with the people around you and the relationships. What your body will start doing is it will start craving healthier foods. It will want to drink water. It will have the anxiety, the chatter, the endless chatter, the narration, and the everything going on in your head. You won't be pre-thinking your conversations. You will be present. You will just have them. You will develop a sense of presence. Your ego will take a back seat when you are interacting with people. You can start to see conversations for what they are. You can start to see people in a more clear manner. This in itself gets the body back online. You start to crave healthier things. You start to desire to be outside, to get fresh air, to take walks. Yet actually your body coming back online and this connection coming back together. I don't think people pay enough attention to that. They don't give themselves enough credit and give their own bodies enough credit for what they're actually doing for themselves. And it's being done internally and on a personal level. It doesn't have to be announced. It does not need validation. It just happens within. So let's talk about energy and balancing energy. So we all have masculine and feminine energies within us. We all have them. We all were imprinted with some sort of masculine and feminine imprints as we've gone through life. We've identified with some. We've rejected some. So within yourself, There is a balance of masculine and feminine energy, and it does not matter your gender. You have masculine traits and you have feminine traits, and they are your individual traits. There is no right or wrong balance. There is no right or wrong way for a woman to act or a man to act. There is only balance. And once you find that balance, when you balance your own energy and you become comfortable in whatever energy you exude, if it's more masculine, if it's more feminine, if your ego has you stuck in a role that doesn't line with your true energy, you're going to start to feel that. You will start having a problem with your ego. You will start having a little bit of an identity crisis. And when I say little bit, I really do mean little bit. You will see these things, you will notice these things and make adjustments because you're learning how to balance your own energy, and you have to balance that internally so that your outward reality will also be balanced. If you can't be balanced within, you can't see the imbalance outside of you. Is the point I'm trying to make. So when you start seeing the imbalance outside of you, it is not your job to balance it. It's not your job to psychoanalyze anyone. But what you can do is bring awareness to it. You can share your awareness of yourself. You can tell people these things, not to trauma brag or tell them that they are about to trigger you. You can present them as boundaries because they are boundaries. If you are really cultivating this inner peace and you want your energy balanced, you will find ways to protect these boundaries. And you will find ways to do it that is not harmful, is not hurtful. You don't have to hurt another person to hold your boundary. That's not how boundaries work. Boundaries are based off of respect. When you identify a boundary and you let a boundary be known to another person, and then they intentionally try to cross it, that shows you their true behavior. And you realize that is a behavior that impedes on your peace. That behavior takes away your peace. That behavior impacts your energy. It drains your energy. It takes your energy. Your energy becomes very precious. So boundaries actually become easier to vocalize and enforce. You cannot get angry with someone who oversteps a boundary that they did not know was there. Just because you told them something about yourself, they cannot read your mind. You cannot read theirs. You don't make assumptions about other people, and then you can't get angry when they don't make an assumption you wanted them to make. So you protect your energy. You learn more about your body, that you can actually heal things within yourself with yourself. You do not have to go on an island for a month and a half. You don't have to climb a mountain. You can develop your own practices. You can meditate instead of responding. You can make it normal to tell someone, I'm not sure what you meant by that comment, but I'm not liking how it made me feel. Just simple things that other people who should be respecting themselves and others to the point where you can be heard. It can be said and it can be spoken. If you are in an environment where you do not feel like you can speak that way, that is when your behavior will change. You will change the behavior for work. You will change it for certain family members. And when you do that, you are putting yourself into their image. You're putting yourself into their mold. Depending on the situation, that mold can be completely comfortable. This is about individual connection, individuals' inner peace. We're leaving religion and spirituality out of this. This is different for everyone, and they can all start where they are, use what they have, and cultivate this into something that a therapist or a psychiatrist could get you there with plenty of money, but with a healthy attitude and a positive perspective, you can actually do a lot of this on your own. I'd like to wrap this up and bring it together by just encouraging everyone that you need to realize that you are already on the path of growth, even if it's unconsciously. And to look back on your journey and see the highlights of where you've come so far, because it's about elevating consciousness and connecting with others in a meaningful way. This is the goal here. And there's positive steps that you're probably already taking, and you're already practicing self-compassion and discernment. And this is a chance to really congratulate yourself on that and maybe cultivate it a little more. And we can really look at inner peace, ego integration, mind-body connection from not a purely intellectual perspective, but we can remove or disconnect the religious and spirituality aspect of it. Not that it needs to go away and that it is not important, but to just remember that your mind, your spirit, your body is really all you need. It's gotten you so far on your journey, and you can continue with this open heart and mind. And you can practice your discernment, and you will find things that you find joy in. You will start to enjoy the little things. You'll start to cultivate an atmosphere around you of that. And you will see your health improve. You will see your relationships improve. And it's all just doing a little exploration of human behavior, your own human behavior, and exploring some self-awareness and practicing some objective self-awareness.